Stop the madness. Keep it 100. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100 with your hosts, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 with live call-ins, heated discussions about current events, politics, national news, weather, and sports. Join our live online chat room and let your opinion show. Download our phone app. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 on STMK Radio 100. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100. Call us at 1-866-484-7865. That's 1-866-484-STMK. Stop the madness. Keep it 100. At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100. Check out Reverend Bill Miller's Bible study radio broadcast live on the new STMK Radio 100 at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please listen in and support him as he joins the realm of broadcasting to encourage believers and offer the comfort of God to others across the airwaves. At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100. Also, feel free to contact him for prayer, counseling, and conversation at brobill9608@yahoo.com. That's BROBILL9608@yahoo.com. At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100.
STMK Radio 100. You're listening to Stop the Madness. Keep it 100 with your host, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone on STMK Radio 100.
Yes, this is a PSA, a public street announcement. You are now listening to a Kickback production. Light up your L's, lean back, and listen.
People take away from this case some lessons about the police and about crime labs that really ought to be reckoned with, then maybe some good will come out of this. If we learn something more about race and the criminal justice system and the way we perceive things as a country, and something good comes of this discussion, then maybe there'll be some positives. In terms of the way this case was covered by the media and respect for the dignity of the courts and the process, I think we've got some serious trouble.
About being anti-police. You saw the police you could believe, and you now know the ones you can't believe. And anybody who believes that all police are perfect, that they don't lie, that they don't have the same biases and racism that the rest of society has, is living in a dream world. So this is not for the faint of heart. This is not for the timid. As I said, this is for the courageous who understand what the Constitution is all about. Officers came out to Bundy and Rockingham, maybe more than 30. You think that of those number of officers, that maybe one of them, maybe one of the patrol officers could have went to give the notice? It took all 4 detectives, all 4 LAPD experienced detectives to leave the bodies. They had notified the coroners. They didn't have a criminalist to go over to notify O.J. Simpson. Who's fooling who here? This is preposterous. They're lying. Trying to get over that wall, to get in that house. You don't believe so? You're talking about saving lives? Before this trial started, if you grow up in this country, you know there are affirmatives out there. You learn early on in your life that you're not going to be naive, that you love your country, but you know it's not perfect. So you understand that. So it's no surprise to me, but I don't take any pride in it. But for some of you, you're finding out the other side of life. You're finding out. That's why this case is so instructive. You're finding out about the other side of life. But things aren't always as they seem. It's not just rhetoric. It's the actions of people. It's the lack of courage. It's the lack of integrity at high places. That's what we're talking about here. Credibility doesn't attach to a title or position. It attaches to the person. So the person who may have a job where he makes $2 an hour can have more integrity than the highest person. It's something from within. It's in your heart. It's what the Lord has put there. That's what we're talking about in this case. And so why don't they speak out? Why do they take him to their breast? Compare how our prosecutors treat Furman as opposed to Cato Kalin. Look at how they treated Mark Partridge as opposed to Cato Kalin. Look at how they embraced him. And now they want to distance themselves. These same people say, oh, he's not important. But the Rocard photograph puts the lie to that. He is very important. And what becomes so important when we talk about these two twin demons of evil? But America's worst nightmare. Why would they all turn their heads and try to cover for him? Why would you do that if you're sworn to uphold the law? There is something about corruption. There's something about a rotten apple that will ultimately infect the entire barrel. Because if the others don't have the courage that we'd ask you to have in this case, people sit silently by. We live in a society where many people are apathetic. They don't want to get involved. And that's why all of us, to a person in this courtroom, have thanked you from the bottom of our hearts. Because you know what? You haven't been apathetic. You're the ones who made a commitment toward justice. And it's a painful commitment. But you got to see it through. Your commitment, your courage, is much greater than these police officers. This man could have been off the force long ago if they'd done their job, but they didn't do their job. People looked the other way. People didn't have the courage. One of the things that has made this country so great is people's willingness to stand up and say, that's wrong. I'm not going to be part of it. I'm not going to be part of the cover-up. That's what I'm asking you to do. Stop this cover-up. Stop this cover-up. If you don't stop it, then who? You think the police department's going to stop it? You think the DA's office is going to stop it? You think we can stop it by ourselves? It has to be stopped by you. His lack of credibility, his lying, racist views, then Ron Phillips, his supervisor. who apparently chose to look the other way, and I'm sure he's as embarrassed as anybody else by this disgrace, Furman. So it's important at the outset that we understand the role of Phillips, as we need to understand the role of Van Anner. He was the one allegedly given this order by Bushy to go over and give the death notification. Didn't comply with it till much later that time. And you know, you can't fault people for being naive. But once they know, if they continue to be naive, then you can fault them. That's what it is, and that's why this case is important. Don't ever say again in this county or in this country that you don't know things like this exist. Don't pretend to be naive anymore. Don't turn your heads. Stand up. Show some integrity.
We picked the 1994 case of O.J. Simpson to start this show tonight because it shows just what we are about to talk about. This is not for the faint of heart. It's time to pull up your big boys or big girls' pants. The point we're talking about hate. A community that don't trust their police department, a court system that has no control or standards, the state of policing in disarray, and crime and policing running rapid. Tonight we're going to talk about high-profile police cases, the state of policing in America. We're going to look back at the U.S. scent degree that was placed on police departments across the United States, the people who were responsible for this court action, why they did it, and what were some of the things happening to them that made them do it. So stay tuned with us and get ready to let your opinion show here on Stop the Madness. Keep it 100. Welcome and good evening. Studio 51, live from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm your host, Sean L. Sitting with me tonight, as always, in the funny chair, the Mr. Funny Man himself, comedian Doug Million.
Oh, hey, what's going on, Sean? What's happening?
You got it, Doug. Tell me something good, man. Tell me something
Everything
good.
Everything good. Turn my mic on, man.
No, you up and rolling, baby.
No, I ain't.
Oh, there you go. Come on.
I can't hear nothing.
Funny over there playing with you.
I can't hear nothing. Y'all can hear me? I can't hear nothing.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Y'all can hear me? You sure y'all can? There we go.
Yeah, we can.
Damn. Boy, man.
You know, that's why you get paid the big bucks. So you up there
that's why I
making
get
show.
paid the big bucks?
Yeah, that's why you get paid the big bucks.
I need a raise
you up
after
there
that,
playing
boy.
the show.
I'm going to have to yell the whole show.
Yeah,
What's
you
going
have
on,
to
Sean?
You got it, baby. You got it. Welcome, Facebook Live. YouTube Live has joined up with us in our 17 cities. We'd like to welcome you tonight. Lots going on in the news. Also, we have a special guest sitting in the red room, JC, political activist and political man. He worked for such mayors like Merrick White, Frank Jackson, and some other employees into the city of Cleveland. And JC, we'd like to welcome you into the red room with us tonight.
Thank you, Sean L.
Turn
Pleasure to
his
be
mic
here.
on.
Oh.
Okay, I'm coming over there. In your
There you
chair.
go. There
My
you
mic
go.
on?
There you go.
Well, thank you for
Yeah.
having me, Sean L. And we hit with Doug. We laughing down here and joking, and then the seriousness. So
And y'all can't see him when he said that JC is not Jesus Christ. All of y'all that's
But
on
hey,
my
he look
Facebook
like him.
Live.
He
Yeah.
look like
He look like
he
him.
look
Yeah,
like him. Yeah, he does.
He look like Moses a
yeah,
little bit.
I'm
You-
the opposite. I'm
you
a
know what?
sinner.
Hey, after that intro, I don't even know we can top that. That intro was a pretty light thing, but we're looking at this tonight because we have we're going back into the state of policing, okay, and we have two major trials going on right now with police officers. One here in the city of Cleveland, which the chat room's talking about, and Black Lives Matter is going in on this one. But I have to say this right here.
Black Lives Matter.
MPI and Al Sharpton and Black Lives Matter, they are really, really standing up because they're seeing something today that has shocked everybody, that a police officer has got on a stand and testified against another police officer in the
It's
shooting.
about time.
High-profile shooting.
It's about time.
We're going to go right there to Cleveland, Ohio. We have our case reporter, and what he's faxed us is just that a partner testified against patrolman Alan Bruford in a deadly police-involved shooting. Cleveland police officer Alan Bruford is on trial for neglect homicide in the March 2015 fatal shooting of an unarmed burglary suspect. Cleveland police officer Gregory King testified against his partner in trial Wednesday and stated that Alan Bruford shooting of the unarmed burglary suspect was unnecessary.
I told him not to shoot. I told him put his gun down. That boy ain't armed, and he shot him in his ass anyway.
Now, this is being heard before a judge and may go to the judge today for determination. Alan Bruford is facing maybe 3 years in jail if he get convicted.
3 years.
Yeah, he's only going to get 3 years.
He killed him, but he only facing 3 years.
Cleveland
No
Municipal
wonder, no wonder he
Judge
told on his ass. He was
Right.
like, Your Honor, I seen it. He did it. I was there.
Cleveland Municipal Judge Michael Silskowski will decide the case against Cleveland police officer Alan Bruford, who is charged with neglect homicide in the March
What is
2015.
neglect homicide?
That means that he made a mistake.
Y'all hear this? he accidentally shot a burglar.
Now, Black Lives Matter is going in on that.
Black lives do matter.
We also have a poll question that's coming out of a conversation. So, Sax Man, if you're watching Facebook Live, and
Well, yeah, Sax.
Economic Mob, I know you want the post to come in. We got a special phone number for both of y'all. You got the phone number, call
Call
into the
up.
show
Talk to
because this is another poll question that came up that was in the chat room back when Sax Man said something. And the poll question is, should law enforcement officers, any color, especially black, be calling the people the N-word? So we're going to get to
I
that
got
later
a
on.
poll question. When Destiny coming out?
Oh, real good. Over the last six...
You meant a poll? Never mind.
Yes.
I thought we was talking about the strip club thing.
Over the last 6 years, there's been 17 high-profile police cases. Some have seen police officers go to jail, and others have been found not guilty in court, leaving communities and police department at war with each other. Tragic events over the last few years have highlighted the challenges facing American policing in the United States in response to events such as Ferguson that dramatically exposed the rift between the relationship between local police and the communities they're supposed to serve. So this is really, really serious, and it's getting
Supposed
right
to
into
serve.
the we're supposed to have the national president and the vice president of the National Black Police Officer Association and some other city officials, but due to the
They
trial,
had the trial.
they had the trial, so they ain't going to be here with us tonight. But as they know, the show must go on.
Oh boy. They gonna
Welcome
hang
Linda
that
Silly,
Deborah.
Carl Dooley, Bruce, and all my friends. Fred, I'm glad you're here with us.
We
We
give
want to
a
get
shout-out.
in because we're getting ready to talk seriously about this situation of policing in America, what happened back during the 60s and the descent degree, why we got a blueprint to to fix this and why we went backwards. And that's the question: is why are we going backwards to a time that was very, very bad and had a bad mark and left a bad taste on everybody for policing?
We ain't going backwards. They just ain't stopped never coming forward.
Now, but you have to understand this, Doug. So I want you to tell me this, JC.
Yeah.
Where do you see the state of policing in the community?
Well, I've studied yoga before, and it's always they preach that it's a duality world. So you're going to have good and you're going to have bad. And like the announcement said, you're going to have some bad apples in there that's going to affect the rest of the good apples in there. So we have to live with it, I guess, but it doesn't say you shouldn't fight for what you believe in.
And right there, do you see that it isn't all on the police department? So I want to say this. The community has a role that they're supposed to be playing in this also. So
Right.
we can't put it all on the police department.
Well, who else we gonna put it on? The EMS and the fire department?
Well, I'm getting ready to ask you how you see the policing in America.
It ain't right. Damn it, it ain't right. Black lives matter. Seriously, how I see it, the community got to get together. We got to stand up. We got to, it's supposed to be we the people, of the people, for the people, and by the people. I continuously say this, and it's serious, and the community has got to get together. We have got to find a way. We have got to find a way, people, to mend this relationship with the people that are supposed to serve this community. We got to start servicing our own community. We have to start policing ourselves in order to show them how to police us right. And we got to stop doing stupid things like taking people who don't understand the dialect, who don't understand the community, who don't understand the language, and then placing them in those type situations where they panic and they freak out and they do stupid things. Or we gotta stop putting criminals in blue uniforms where they shoot other criminals in the ass because they mad because they can't do what they doing because they got a badge now.
Yeah.
Well, we just seen some high profile cases, folks, and I'm going to say this. President Obama created a task force on the 21st century policing, and that's almost like the national crime on the cause of violence and prevention of violence in the neighborhoods. And we're going to talk about that in the second hour, and we're going to go over some of the riots that happened in the past and the reason those riots happened. But what I want to say here, Doug and JC, and to the audience here, just as the external and internal pressures require law enforcement to search and examine and ultimately transform their policies, their perceptions, and priorities in policing now. So is it that they're trying to do too much with less, not properly training officers? Because it goes back, Doug, remember 2 months ago we did that town hall.
Yeah.
And the summit on policing
Right.
versus
Policing
versus police change.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was that show called?
Police reform.
Police reform
Versus policing. Right.
reform.
And what everybody didn't understand was when we was in that town hall, and I said this to the activists like Art McCoy and all the rest of them, is it policing is the way the officers come out into the community and police. Okay.
Right.
They have the proper training and policies, but they're not following them or they're not using. And police reforms is policies, trainings, and supervision.
Right.
Okay.
Now, my opinion on that is it needs to change, first of all, on police reform. They need to change the way that they're training these officers to come out here. I mean, they need to take a step back, because sometimes you have to take a step back in order to move forward. They need to take a step back, look at policy, and change what needs to be wrong, what they need to fix what's wrong with the policy. You can't fix something that's not broke, but you can damn sure fix something that is broken. And right now it's broken, and it's showing that it's broken because you're getting the same repeat problems over and over again on a larger and larger scale, and it's growing city by city and state by state.
State by state. That is true, because if you look at it, in the last 6 years, we have had 45 high-profile cases of shooting of unarmed black males, and it's like it's escalating.
And see, I need to point out, Sean, that it's not just happening just in the black community, but that's where the spotlight is at because it's happening more and more
Right.
in the black community.
And that's not even counting into considerations of other people that have been shot by the police. Okay?
Absolutely.
And we're not saying whether it's justified. So I want everybody to understand this. What we're talking about right here, we're not talking about whether it's justified, whether it's unjustified, whether it's racial, non-racial, because we're going to get into some problems right there, and we're going to look at what it is. And first of all, before we even get started, I want everybody to understand one thing. Police are going to be around forever.
Forever.
Okay?
Forever.
We asked them to do a job
Right.
that society don't want to do or deal with.
There you go.
So I want everybody to understand that the police is going to be here. So we must ask ourselves how we're going to make it better for them and the community also.
Absolutely.
Because when you look at the response to policing, it all goes back to the 1991 video of the Rodney King beating.
Yep.
Okay, so this is where all the problems come in at in law enforcement. And we got some law enforcement people in the chat room. And as one of them said from the LAPD, it started when they took the nightsticks and training officers to properly defend themselves with a nightstick because they didn't want anyone on video beating someone with a stick ever again after the Rodney King situation. And that may have escalated the problem here
Yeah. True that. True that.
because they went to tasers.
Yep.
The tasers don't work. They've been trained. If the tasers don't work, you move up the scale of force continuously program instead of coming down. So that may be the biggest problem right here is that they're no longer teaching hand-to-hand combat and physical fitness to
No.
officers. And that's coming from a police sergeant from L.A. And in the chat room, I like to say this. We have L.A., we have Atlanta.
We
have
got Vegas in the house.
We have a Vegas in the house. We have a lot of police departments. We're talking in the chat room. They're talking right now. We're going to go to D-Nose later on. But what I want to say is the police are a part of the community they protect and serve, and they will express the policies of our elected officials.
Yeah.
So let's go right here. Let's go to step one. Is our elected officials letting the community down?
Yep.
Okay, because as one police officer
They
from
dropping the ball.
right from city of Cleveland just stated, now I'm not going to mention the name,
Ball rolling down the street.
but it goes back to supervision.
Yep.
Okay, and we're going to talk about supervision because we're going to talk about minorities who came on the police department under the descent degree. And I said this at the town hall. I'm going to say this again. The minority police officers do not know their role in policing.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely. And that's what I was touching on earlier
Right.
when I was saying
They don't know their role.
they don't know their role because I mean, okay, for example, and this is just an example, people, I'm not picking on any particular race, but you take a young white suburbanite police officer and you put him in the hood, he don't know the dialect.
But minorities isn't a certain color because under the descent degree, a minority, because let's go to police departments across the country, and we're going to talk about New York.
Okay.
Minorities were females, any color, black, white, Chinese, Latinos, African American males, African American females. If you came on a job and you was a female, you came on the job under the descent degree because they wasn't hiring you.
Right.
Okay. JC, you know that right here in Cleveland, they wasn't hiring black police officers. And we're going to talk about that because the descent degree case that was filed in 1972 by Fred Johnson, and we got a statement from him and Gene Clayton and the National Black Police Officers Association, that encompassed everyone. Okay, so if you got a job today in law enforcement, those judges put you on that job for a particular reason.
Right.
And we was going to have a female sergeant here from one of the organizations to explain that to us. But there again, I said some things come up. But
She on a date.
we're going to have them back here next week because we're going to redo this next week. And we're going to talk about the history of the Shield, the Cleveland Black Shield Police Association. And we're going to talk about the National Police Officers Association. But I'm going to go into the 17 cases that I'm just going to pull some cases out, and we're going to go over these cases that we're going to talk about and tell you the difference in the cases. And we got police officers in here talking about it. Black Lives Matters is here.
Black Lives
We got
Matter.
the Sea of Blue in there. And everybody who came into the chat room has an understanding there's a place for everybody at the table to speak their
Right.
opinion.
So, the
so
name of the show
it-
is Stop the Madness.
Stop the Madness.
Keep
and
it 100.
Keep it 100. If you want to call into the show, we're going to open up the phone lines in a minute. But let's go to Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Wild,
that was
West.
the #1 case that just got done where the police officer was acquitted on first-degree manslaughter charges. A white Oklahoma police officer, female,
Mm-hmm.
said she fatally shot an unarmed black man out of fear of her life, and she was acquitted.
Again, going back to what I was saying,
Right. Go
out of place, don't understand the dialogue, don't understand the community, got no business being there in the first place. I'm not saying the police have a right to police. The police have a right to be where they need to be. But if you're completely out of a place, what do you do when you fear something? If a bug crawl on your arm and you don't know what it is, you're not going to pick the bug up and set it down and be like, crawl free, little bug. You're going to knock it to the ground and you're going to destroy it because you're afraid
But
of
does
what it's
that
going
go?
to do to
But
you.
does that go back to what the LA officer said? That the first thing police officers do now is put a gun in their hand.
Yeah.
And if you put a gun in your hand, what's going to happen? If you put the gun up and you facing a suspect, he gonna take it from you. If you pull a gun on him in the beginning and you challenging him, the only thing you have left to do is to shoot him now. I mean,
right.
I mean,
Well, my mama taught me when I was a little boy, and then my father was a World War II veteran, and he also was in the Korean conflict, and we had guns around, and we learned about guns, and we learned how to shoot guns. And my mama told me when I got of age, when I got to the point where things started getting to the point where they were carrying guns, my mama told me, I said, I need to give me a gun. She said, no, you need to understand this. She said, if you get a gun, first of all, you don't get a gun and you don't take it nowhere and you don't show it to nobody. You don't pull it out and you don't show it to nobody. If you pull it out and you show it to somebody, you better have intentions on using it. And if you have intentions on using it, you don't use it to maim or hurt somebody. You use it to kill them. So you're better off putting that gun away and learning how to use them things.
well, let's go right here. It's another big case out of Minnesota, Jamar Clark, and then you got Austin Sterling, Walter Scott. Walter Scott. That case just came to a conclusion with the federal government stepping in, and that officer is doing 7 to 18 years in jail for willfully violating civil rights. You got Eric Gardner, Rika Boyd. Now, Rika Boyd was a case I don't think everybody really understand this case right here. A Chicago police officer, he was fired from the police force. He was off duty, and I think he got into an accident, and he pulled his weapon out on a male and then shot her in the head. She was an innocent bystander
Right.
sitting on the thing. Then you got Michael Brown. Everybody remember Ferguson's case.
Everybody remember
Uh,
that.
That case really, we said in the town summit, remember the town summit, we said that city officials, and Jason,
Right.
you can speak to this, city officials, as we said before, need to step out in front of cases like this before narratives get set up like hands up, don't shoot. You know that was a
Right.
false narrative. But they allowed that to fester for weeks before they tried to counter it.
Okay. Yeah. City officials need to step up. I agree with that. Sometimes them being quiet, it only, like you said, makes the people more upset, and they don't understand where they're coming from because they don't communicate with the people. So,
And
I
then,
agree with
then you got the big case coming up right now, Doug. This is the
Before
case.
you go there, we got somebody in the chat room. We got Sarita Rucker Brown out in Las Vegas. Hey, Shanshan. We got her out there. She's asking, are there any cases about females officers?
Yes, the first one we talked about was a female officer.
Okay,
the one
so
in
there you
the
go,
one in
girl.
Tuscaloosa, Oklahoma.
Right, that's the one where the white female,
white female shot her. But you have to
because
look.
she was afraid.
You have to look at this too, because I want to go back into the chat room, and I want to tell everybody, even though you have 29 high-profile cases that really we need to be looking at, and because all of them have the same factor on it, and it goes back to what this L.A. Police officer said. He's a lieutenant with LAPD, and it goes back to the training. He said when a police officer get out of his car, and the first thing he does is put a gun in his hand, There's nothing good that's going to come out of it but a tragedy.
Absolutely.
And he started talking about since the Rodney King beating, departments across America took away nightsticks and stopped training officers to be physically fit or requiring them to be physically fit.
Right.
Okay, and that's a big issue right there. But the case I want to go to right here, the other case is Laquan McDonald. Remember, that's the young man that was shot 17 times or something in Chicago, walking up the middle of the street.
17 times.
He did have a knife, but
17 times.
right. So that case is getting ready to come up right there. But see, I want to say this to Black Lives Matters, and I said this at the town hall, and I'm not going to bite my tongue about this to the community.
Please don't.
Protesting and marching has its place. But you cannot protest and you cannot march. You cannot burn down your city and destroy your stuff, expecting someone to do a change. The only way you're going to change this system that you say is institutional racism is that you got to get into the institution and change it from within.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So what we have to understand is the cases we're going over, and we're talking about police officers being acquitted for cases that you feel, well, guess where the jury comes from? The voter roll. If you don't vote, that's why we got
then
Trump.
You can't select a jury.
Right. If you don't vote, then that officer is not sitting amongst his peers, and his peers are the people in the community that he serves, not the community he lives in, the community he serves. So if he lives in that community, then those are the people that's supposed to be sitting on the polls. If you don't vote, then you can't sit a jury. Look at Bill Crosby case.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 jurors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that's a miscarriage of justice because the prosecutor waited 13 years and he can't put on a good defense 13 years
I think
later.
that's a whole nother show.
And we're going to do that show too because I got a lot to say about that.
Yeah.
But I want to tell the community, if you do not stand up and vote, it's a time to protest. It's a time to march. But at that time, you need to stop protesting. You need to stop marching. You need to go out and get petitions. You need to get our young, bright people, and I'm going to say this, stop moving into the suburbs, come back into the inner cities, show our young kids that we can live in communities that thrives. Our kids can be properly educated, protect our women, show our people that our women can be protected and that they are valuable to society, and just don't throw them away like that.
We got a comment here in the chat room. Once you mentioned Trump, we got Retha Hogan from right here in this city that said people became more bold once Trump was in office. For the first time in my life, I was called a nigger about 3 months ago.
Well, we going to the poll on that, but you know what? I want to say this again. No, people did not just become bold since Trump was in office. Let me explain this to you. People been bold and been calling us names and doing that since the turn of the century. Go all the way back to when we did the show, The Bacon Rebellion, 1676, when racism actually started here in America. The problem is that our kids and our communities are not being trained properly. They're not standing up with each other, and they're not educating our kids, and the village is not taking control of what's going on.
That's a big part of the problem.
So our kids think that things just started.
Yeah. Now, these is grown folks that's speaking on this.
I understand.
And somebody else just said, but since Trump, it seems that racism is back in full force.
Right.
And I mean, in some sense, yes, it is. But again, people out there that's in the chat room, we appreciate all y'all comments. Y'all got to understand, if you voted for Trump, you're getting exactly what you asked for. But if you didn't vote for Trump, you're getting everything that you should.
And I want to say this to the chat room. Let me say this to the chat room because you know the name of the show, and I'm gonna keep it real. 47% of America did not go vote.
40%.
Okay. The people who needed, the people who needed the most, and I was going to this with Black Lives Matter. Hillary Clinton, you might not have liked her, but at least she gave you a chair at the table.
Yes,
and she told you that she would try to change things for your way. When it comes to the crime bill, for all our young people that's out there talking about your black politicians cried for that crime bill because we had a crack epidemic going on and black communities was being decimated like bombs. So when you refuse to vote for her for that, and you million people who voted third party, and the people up in Flint, Michigan who gave Trump the election by 12,000 votes.
I
Wisconsin.
say that whole thing was rigged because that was a scary situation. You got Trump on one hand, you got Hillary Clinton on
But
the
let me
other
tell you
hand.
something. The worst of two evils. Sometimes you have to jump in the water and try to
Yeah,
drown and watch your back.
sometimes you gotta
Because
jump in the
Hillary,
water and fight that shark. Because Hillary
right,
Clinton, man,
Hillary would have never canceled housing.
uh,
Hillary would have never took your health care. Hillary would have
yeah, but
never
you know,
took the cuts that's taking place.
folks
You
say-
have not seen the cuts that's going on. And let me say this right here. I didn't want to go political on this show back to Trump, but let me say this about Trump. The policies that are in place are policies set to hurt poor people.
Of course, it
If you're
is.
not the 1%, you're done. The jobs, there's no jobs coming back. He want to push jobs, but if you look at it, all your malls are closing, all your retail stores are closing.
Them ain't the jobs he
Okay.
was pushing.
There ain't jobs he push anyway
He
because
got his daughter got hired, his son-in-law working for him. Ivana doing good. She modeling.
so
and
so
she's a
it so the community has to
spokesperson
take
now.
this right. 2018, let me tell you this: if the community does not come out to vote, and the community does not pick young people because it started home. Okay, Trump is just a figurehead. Okay, your people down in Columbus is the one you have to worry about because they're the one gerrymandering the districts and keeping the Republicans in the office. Get the young people. You got so many young people that want to run for office that are bright, JC,
Yeah.
that we're overlooking. Like I was telling everybody, if 5% of the bright people who graduated from Shaw stayed at home and gave back to their community, East Cleveland would not be in the situation it is in right now.
I agree. And getting to Hillary again, Hillary is the most experienced. She told the people what she knew she could do, and she didn't tell them something she could not do. Trump, no experience. He said what you wanted to hear, and people want to believe that. One philosopher said people don't find reasons why they should do something. They make excuses for what they
Right,
do.
cannot.
Right, but let me say this, not to cut you off,
Oh, no, I don't
JC, or
mind.
bring you down. Let me just say this right here to the thing about Trump, and then we're gonna move on to these other cases. Trump's in office right now for one reason and one reason only, and his name is Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Okay, period.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
that's why people on social media right now think they're gangsters on Facebook, calling people nasty names. In the chat room, you heard in the chat room say for the first time in her adult life, she's been called nasty names.
Right.
When you have people who play with fire, and we got white supremacists in the chat room, they're putting their stuff out there. And they're talking hot, and the chat room is heated. We're going to go to D Knows in a minute. But when you play with this, and you play with this fire, guess what happens? You're going to get burnt. You look at what happened in Seattle,
Yeah.
okay? We did that show last week where the young lady, he thought they was Muslims, but they wasn't Muslim, okay? And he killed veterans,
Racial profiling.
okay? White veterans stood up for those young ladies and got killed. You look at what happened at the airport, okay? You look at what happened over here with the senators, okay? That guy was a domestic terrorist, but we don't want to use domestic terrorists no more, okay? But he was a Bernie bus follower.
I don't say domestic terrorists. I say
Okay.
American terrorists.
So when
Tell the truth.
you
Shame and
look
lie.
at this, it's not racial, but when you start flaming that flame and start hatred, look at East Cleveland. That's an all-black city, and can't nobody sit down and talk because this person hate this person want to shoot this person. Okay, it's just a
Black
matter of
lives
time.
matter, but black folks can't get along.
Right. So it's not like I tell everybody. Trump's in office because of one thing, and just say Barack Obama. Look how right now they talking about how people talk about
Well,
Trump.
no, I'm gonna say no. He's not in there just because of Barack Obama. People didn't want politicians as usual. They didn't want politics as usual. Now, some of the people that I have talked to, they were dead set against Hillary Clinton for many reasons. Some were against her because they were like, well, what are we going to do as far as dealing with foreign countries now? Because a lot of these countries, their leaders are not allowed to or wish not to deal with women. When there are other countries and places that have women
So we're
presidents.
gonna go to war.
But without a doubt, that's it. You know what? I'm gonna say that. I
So
said it
so so
before.
so our kids get killed
I said it before. I'm gonna say
because
it
they
again.
don't want a woman. See,
What,
wait,
you got to thin the herd out.
wait a minute, but
How the hell else
but-
we gonna thin?
let-
Now,
let me
hold
s-
on, Sean.
no,
How we gonna thin the herd out? We don't
let
kill
me say
some
this.
of them
See,
niggas.
this is the problem. I want everybody in the land to understand. Did you hear what the chat room and the people saying? They don't want a woman running the country or running them. That's why we're in the trouble we are in. Maybe
Right.
if we had a woman running something, maybe we'd be in a better place.
You know what? I didn't want my mama running me and telling me what the hell to do, but she did, and I turned out pretty all right.
So, and also what we want to talk
That's
about,
what we probably need is a
the
woman
other
to
case,
whoop somebody's ass.
Arcade Gurley. Now you remember Arcade Gurley? That's the rookie police officer Peter Lane. He's on probation right now. He got convicted for manslaughter, but they didn't give him any jail time.
Wait a minute. He got convicted for murder, but he got probation.
Yeah, that's the one that shot the guy in the projects in the stairwell.
You know what? That's about a damn enough right there. Hell, that's crazy at all I'll get up.
So, but when you look at this and
They
then,
locked me up for back child support.
well, you should have been.
Huh?
Irresponsible fathers, we have
Man,
nothing to
it
care
had
about.
nothing to do with irresponsibilities. It was back child support, and it was dealing with situations where I didn't follow up with things like workman compensation and unemployment. That's neither here nor there. Them sons of bitches locked me up for back child support, but he killed some damn body.
but
They give him probation.
You have
I
to
want his lawyer.
you have to look at this too. It's under the current system, and this is what I was talking about to the Black Lives Matters people in the chat room with the police officers that we have there that's talking with us also, is that we as police officers in society to handle too much. Okay.
Yeah, we do. That's part of the problem.
We got them there for our protection and to deal with people we don't want to deal with. Okay. But then you ask them to deal with mental people. Then you ask them to be social workers. Then you ask them to be dog catchers. I mean, you're putting too much on the officers personally, okay? Right. And when you start putting all this stuff on them, Reagan closed all the mental hospitals.
Well, who the hell else gonna take my auntie to the store? I ain't got time to do it.
That's the problem. And the community has to come back.
I got to work, Sean.
Okay, but the community has to come back and start thinking about the village, as I said, start going back into the programs, because when you close mental hospitals, those people have to go somewhere. And when you got them in the street, that's what's causing the problem. Then when you have, we're going to look at that report from the National Commission on the Cause and Prevention of Violence, when they start talking about no jobs in the community, drugs, heavy-handed police officers. People go into a situation right there.
Heavy-handed, they no-handed.
Well, not all police officers are like that. So you have to go back into this. You have, out of the 17 cases or 24 cases we're talking about, you have over 5 million contacts daily by law enforcement officers that do not end in violence or in a bad situation. So let's balance what's going on here. We're only talking about the high cases because Facebook and the internet.
Right.
Okay.
Right. We talking about
high profile cases. And even in these high profile cases, some of these cases you have to go back to law and then to our society to be in love with guns. Okay, because that's the big problem. We're in love with guns. Yeah. The next case that take the topping off of the case, the Tamir Rice case right here in Cleveland, Ohio. And then we're going to skip that one. We're going to go to the Fidel Castle case that just got done where the police officer was found not guilty. Okay. And there's two situations right there. Now we see the whole dash cam video.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But you go back into the situation of, as I said before, of an officer who does not de-escalate. Okay. And we go back to a individual, and everybody's going to get mad as they did before. But
and all you folks that's out there on Facebook that's listening right now, the case that he's talking about is the case that I was speaking about the other night. And this is the Castile case where the young man was pulled over for a traffic stop, and he was shot 7 times while his girlfriend sat next to him and a 4-year-old child sat behind them in the seat. And you gotta understand the entire situation. I'm not saying that it was right, but I looked at the video a million times, and I understand why people are upset, because the people that were on Facebook explained to me why they were upset when they saw.
Well, everybody should be up. But see, this is the problem right here. Everybody should be upset, and they should be upset because two things happen in here. Okay, one, the officer had a preconception of the person that he pulled over.
Panicked.
Okay, so that preconception dictated the way he dealt with him. Okay, 2, the person that's sitting in the car knew that the suburb he was in had a problem with people of color.
Mm-hmm.
He was trained because he was a concealed weapon carrier. Okay, he was trained to do a certain thing at a certain time. So when he told that officer he had a weapon, he shouldn't have moved. Okay, when he dropped his hand and started either getting his license or I don't know what he was doing, looking for something or getting something, like his girlfriend said, picking up his registration, you can clearly hear the officer, and this is something that his girlfriend didn't say. That's why you have to look at both videos. You can clearly hear the officer telling him, "Don't reach, don't do this, don't pick that, let it go, whatever." Okay. At that point in time, the situation was already dictated to a fatal encounter. Okay.
Right.
Because that officer perceived him as being a robbery suspect, and now he perceives this person who's a robbery suspect, who he just been told got a gun, reaching for something that he assumes there's a gun. Okay.
Right.
If you look at the video, you see his partner sitting there. His partner is shot.
Completely and totally.
When the baby jumped out the car, his partner wasn't even worried about a third suspect coming out of the car on him. He didn't even pay attention to the baby. He picked the baby up and hugged the baby. So it goes back to right here, as the officer said in L.A., preconceptions when you approach somebody and what you do. De-escalations. And I'm going to say this. We're going to talk about this in the second hour. When we used to give the class, I know Cleveland police officers who've been on the force remember Commander Tail, the Black Shield, and a lot of the black officers put out a pamphlet, what to do when you come into contact with law enforcement officers. That was a big thing in the 70s and 80s. So I do not understand how we got back to where we was at pre-60s.
Technology, social media.
No, but
technology.
We've
been dumbed down.
But no, the technology has nothing to do with law enforcement reversing back to the 60s. Okay,
We've been dumbed down. I mean, it's been going on.
So what you going to say?
It's been
Your
going
politicians dumb? I'm not talking about the people.
I didn't say dumb.
I said law enforcement.
Now, what I'm saying is this: is you saying it seems like we revert back? It's never stopped.
We have reverted
It's just
back.
that now it's more in the spotlight because there's cameras everywhere.
No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. You know why? Because if you go back over the 70s and you go back over the 80s.
I'm going to say that because I remember there was an incident. There was an incident where I was on my way to school. I hadn't cut school. I was late for school, and I didn't have bus fare, so I had to walk. It was either walk your ass to school or get your ass kicked by mama. I ended up getting my ass whooped by the police because I looked like somebody.
Right, that happens.
Now, there were no cameras nowhere around at that time. This was back during the late 70s. There were no cameras.
Home.
There were no phone cameras. Yeah, I got home because I simply got my ass
You know how many cases now? You're talking about
getting home. But what I'm saying is
high-profile cases. Listen,
I understand
74
what you're
high-profile cases.
But what I'm saying is this, Sean, it's now coming to the forefront. Now, this stuff has not stopped. This stuff has been going on for quite some while, and it's gotten worse because now people are not just getting their behinds.
But it wasn't fatal.
No, it wasn't fatal.
Listen to what I'm saying,
There's
a difference.
Listen to what I'm saying, though. It's not fatal. It wasn't fatal then, but it has graduated to becoming fatal. But the difference is now there are cameras absolutely everywhere.
Right, I understand.
They're on your phone. They're on the telephone pole. They're on the building next to you. They're at the gas station. They're at the corner store. And now this stuff is being seen. We're seeing more high-profile cases because before these cases were happening because, no, that particular one wasn't fatal, but there have been other ones that were fatal
we can go back,
that you'll never know about because there were no cameras.
No, you can go back over law enforcement shootings all the way back to 1954.
What about the ones you don't hear about?
But still, they still logged.
What?
So in 1954, coming all the way up to 1970, 1980, and I'm going to take a classic example, coming back into the state of Ohio. You may have had one fatal shooting a year. One.
That you know of.
No, they even logged. even in most
What
racist,
about the ones that weren't laws?
even in the most racist department, Doug,
What about the
maybe
ones,
two.
What about the ones that were done behind the car? What
Okay,
about the ones that were done
maybe
behind the
maybe
bushes,
two.
out of the
Okay,
public's
but
eye?
Doug, listen. Maybe two you can go back and put your hand on. Maybe three. I give you New York of the highest profile shootings in New York. Okay. The NYPD, 35,000 officers. Go back into that.
But you're talking about cases that you know about. Every single one of them wasn't law.
But go back.
Just like
Okay.
just like
well,
every
okay,
dirty gun that was
but-
put on every dirty gun that was put on
But
a
let me
suspect.
say this, Doug. Let me say this, and I'm gonna say this in fairness to everybody out there in the land. I'm gonna say this in fairness to the chat room, and everybody else. We ain't gonna go on what we don't know. We're gonna go on what we know, because if you're gonna go on that level, it still does not. In the last 6 years, Doug, the last 6 years, we have had over 100 high-profile shootings.
Right.
That's unheard of.
And what I'm saying is because of social media, because
Social media has nothing to do with
Okay,
high
hear my
profile
point.
killings.
hear my point. No, it doesn't. But what I'm saying is because of social media, because of Big Brother, the eye, the camera being absolutely everywhere, it's becoming more widespread.
No, Doug. No. I'm going to tell you no. Police officers are not killing people because social
That don't change.
okay.
I'm not saying. See, you're
No,
getting.
I understand what
no,
you're saying.
You're taking what I'm saying wrong
What
because
I-
I'm not saying that they're killing people because of social media.
Right.
I'm saying these things are
But you-
becoming. Everything is on camera now.
But
Everything is on
the
camera
press
now,
been there.
so we see it
But
more.
the press been there. The 24-hour
Not
cycle hasn't changed.
always,
Doug,
not always.
these 700 shootings and incidents in the last 6 years, I'm telling you right now, it was not going on like that. You may have had 5. You may have had
How you know, Sean?
3, because I got them right here. I'm going to go back into
Okay,
it for you.
You got something that's
Okay.
on paper that somebody
How
told
you
you
wait?
about.
Okay, so if it ain't on paper, well, let me say this. Okay, in the city of Cleveland, the coroner has to go get you. Okay, your family's gonna sue the city. Okay, lawsuits didn't just start.
They
Go-
don't always
go-
find them.
Go back to 1994.
What's that guy? They
See-
still
see-
ain't found him. Hoffa.
Okay, but see, you want to go back into, but I'm hyperboles. If you want to go
I'm
to
not going into
hyperboles,
hyperboles. I'm
Okay.
making a point. The point that I'm saying is this stuff is more in the forefront because there's more cameras now. It's seen now, and that's why it seems like it's so much.
no, Doug, no.
Okay. All right,
Well-
Sean. You absolutely right.
No, it ain't about absolutely be right. What
you
I'm
keep
try-
telling me no.
What I'm trying to tell you is that this high amount of cases were not happening at that
You're
priority.
judge,
Right.
jury, and executioner.
No.
I'm guilty. You're right. I'm wrong.
You don't have to go guilty, but
No.
you got a good thing.
So, Doug, what you saying is like the Rodney King thing. If they hadn't have videoed it, it might not have come out. Is that what
Absolutely.
you're trying to?
That's what
I'm just trying to see.
Right, that's
where
what
it
he's
comes-
saying.
what I'm
saying.
But even though
But
you,
he's saying no.
no, JC, what I'm saying is
Yeah.
even though Rodney King got his ass whooped,
Yeah.
even if there wasn't a camera there,
Mm-hmm.
you would have known LAPD jumped on Rodney King. You wouldn't have known the severity of it, but you would have known that it happened.
Oh, I see what
You
you're
would've
saying.
known
In,
he
in,
got-
Wait a minute, in Watts alone, in Watts in 1965, you had 30 allegations just before the Watts riot of police officers abusing black females and females. That wasn't on film, but there was reports because guess what?
Okay, I see.
Those people either went to the hospital, okay, or they were scared, and the newspaper people came to them.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm not going to go on a hyperbole of saying that the police didn't kill somebody and they might have buried the body in the desert, but I'm not going that far. That's when you go into conspiracies
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff on that level.
Well, I'm not going into conspiracy.
We didn't say you
but
were.
That's my opinion.
Wait a minute, and your opinion shows. But
That's my
okay.
opinion. But you're saying my opinion don't matter because you keep saying
No.
no.
No, I'm not saying your opinion don't matter.
You keep saying no.
Okay, no, I'm gonna give you that. I'm gonna give you your
You
opinion.
keep saying no.
Okay, but
Every time I say something, when I say, well, because of social media, you say no.
right, I'm gonna say no on that one because you do
see,
a conspiracy.
again,
right, I gotta say that
again,
because you do a conspiracy.
Again, I'm not doing conspiracy. How is that a conspiracy when I'm saying that things are more in the forefront now? Okay, the Rodney King case, for example. Yes, we would have known that he got his butt beat by the police. No, we may not have known about the severity, but if cameras had not come into play, it wouldn't have went that far. Half of them officers probably wouldn't have went to court because their story would have stuck. This dude was trying to grab our guns. This is what I'm saying.
Okay,
son.
well, I give you that.
These guys are trying. This guy was trying to grab our guns. He's grabbing nightsticks. He was crazy on drugs. He was kicking doors off of police cars, and that's why we did what we did.
Hold that thought,
had
right?
To subdue, and we had to undo. We had to get this guy under control. So that's what it came to. But cameras were there, so it was brought to the forefront.
As Doug, the chat room says, stick to the facts. But what we're going to do right here, hold that thought right there, because we're going to go to our poll. Remember the poll question we had? Should any officer be calling anybody the N-word or nigger? And we went right there. And D knows. D, tell me one thing in the booth right there, D knows. We want to know what's going on in the chat room. And we're going to ask D Knows to tell me and us and Facebook, what is the chat room talking about?
Well, Chanel, the chat room is on fire. We have police officers from the ATL, DC, and Houston. The Black Lives Matter and NEO 134 is in the house, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And they're letting their opinions show. First, the poll question. Should police officers be calling people of color the N-word? 4,500 people answer the poll question. 99.7, no. 0.3, the word should never be used. This is why no black police officer should ever use this word. Fred Johnson and a reporter show the courts a photo taken in the bathroom of the Central Police Station wall, which had the inscription, which was evidence they need to successfully litigate the civil rights action in 1972. Conduct your job with vigor, or you might be replaced by a nigger. And here are some opinions from the chat room. Jay Williams, as a police supervisor, I can tell you this, they wouldn't have a job long and would be fighting to get it back. Russell Wilkins, I just asked my class your poll question. Opinion, 100%, their badge and gun should be taken. Michelle Jackson, you know how we feel here in Boston. We called into your last show when this came up. And any police officer who uses such words makes all police look bad and need not be in that position. Herb Blunt Jr., no justice, no soul. P.B. Ross, soulless devils indeed. Kathleen Carey, this is even getting scarier. Hoodrat, 88. I bet they will not use the words poor white trash in the community, because if they did, they would not have a job. And on the lighter side, Doug Million, Funny Side 909, said, why did the policeman smell bad? He was on duty. And this is what's happening in the chat room with D's Nose. See ya.
Napa know-how.
Every car on the road today deserves quality parts and Napa know-how, but none more than your dream car, especially if you got it 10 years after it came out. Boy, did your patience pay off, because here you are toting your swagger about town like the gentleman motorist you are at a fraction of the cost. And with some quality parts and a little Napa know-how, you can keep your dream car running longer, stronger. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
AP Radio News. I'm Ed Donahue. President Trump was asked about 2 weeks ago if there were any tapes of his White House conversation with now fired FBI Director James Comey.
Oh, you're going to be very disappointed when you hear the answer. Don't worry.
The answer came today in a tweet.
President Trump has disputed fired FBI Director James Comey's assertion that he had asked Comey for a pledge of loyalty during a dinner meeting. When news of Comey's account broke, Trump tweeted that Comey better hope there are no tapes of our conversations before he starts leaking to the press. But now, in a pair of afternoon tweets, the president says he has no idea whether any tapes or recordings of his conversations with Comey exist. But he adds, I did not make and do not have any such recordings. The House committee investigating Russian meddling in the election set a Friday deadline for the White House to hand over any tapes. Ben Thomas, Washington.
Rand Paul says he and 3 other Republican senators oppose the GOP health care bill as written. That puts passage in jeopardy. The draft proposal was released today. At the White House, President Trump says the bill will need work, and he hopes it has heart.
It's going to be very good. A little negotiation, but it's going to be very good.
The president has said the health care bill passed in the House was mean. Illinois Democrat Dick Durbin in the Senate says this new bill is a failed attempt to make the House health care bill kinder and gentler.
What we have with the Republicans in the Senate here is an attempt to dust off the edges of the House bill and say this is not as mean. I'll tell you, at the end of the day, from the reports we have, this is still a mean dog.
Protesters have been arrested outside the office of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. The Senate bill calls for cutting Medicaid for low-income Americans and erasing tax increases on high earners and medical companies. The case was dubbed Pizzagate. Eric Walsh was sentenced to 4 years in prison in Washington for firing an assault rifle in a D.C. restaurant. He was investigating unfounded internet rumors about Democrats harboring sex slaves. This is AP Radio News. Authorities in France say the man killed when he drove a car packed with weapons and explosives into a police convoy in Paris was an extremist sympathizer.
Paris prosecutor Francois Molins, citing a letter written in the form of a will dated the day before the Monday attack on the French capital's famed Champs-Élysées Avenue, said the man, who was born in a Paris suburb, had pledged his allegiance to Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi and practiced shooting to prepare for jihad. Molins says the letter to the man's loved ones asked that his attack plan be treated not as a suicide attack but as a martyrdom operation. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
A judge in North Carolina says he won't allow lawyers for Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl to ask potential military jurors whether they voted for President Trump, as the defense seeks signs of bias against their client. Bergdahl is accused of endangering comrades by walking off his post in Afghanistan. Ed Donahue, AP Radio News.
The summer is heating up, and so are the deals at Cabela's during our 4th of July sale. If you're heading to the lake, take 50% off Quantum Solo spinning and casting rod and reel combos. Cabela's Deluxe Flotation Vest starting at $749. And Body Gloves Riptide 3 water shoes for only $749. While you're here, check out our sidewalk sale. We've got huge savings on hundreds of items with new gear added daily. Make Cabela's your one-stop for summer savings and all your outdoor gear.
Hey, Thirst, can I try out a few Coke Summer sound effects on you? Yes. Cool. You okay with this? Yes. And this? Yes. And what about this? Yes. Ha! Gotcha there, Thirst. That wasn't sound effects. That was a Coke. I'm no longer thirsty. You're so out of here. Coca-Cola.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us. Go ahead.
All right, step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the Wacky Waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the Wacky Waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico.
And now back to John with the weather.
Yes, Andy. Tonight, a big storm. Storm this! Get the soccer offer from Pizza Hut and Pepsi. With every 2 medium pan Super Supreme, you get a real soccer ball and 4 cans of Pepsi for free. Yes, a real soccer ball and 4 cans of Pepsi for free. Yes, Pepsi the soccer ball. 4 cans. Don't miss the Pizza Hut and Pepsi soccer offer. With every 2 medium pan Super Supreme, you get a real soccer ball and 4 cans of Pepsi for free. What about the weather, Eddie? Don't resist and call 19,000 now.
You're listening to Stop the Madness. Keep it 100.
Hello.
Hello, sir. I hear you having problems putting together your new kitchen unit.
Oh, yeah, the instructions say that...
What now?
The instruction manual, it makes absolute...
Stop reading that.
Well, what would you suggest I use?
I suggest you use the fact you're a man.
Huh?
Guys who got pride never relied on no guide, sucker. I'll give you some step-by-step instructions. Buy Snickers, remove wrapper, bite chocolate, and get some nuts.
Go to GetSomeNuts.tv for more Snickers man coaching.
You're listening to Stop the Madness. Keep it 100 with your host, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone on STMK Radio 100. 100.
Well, welcome back to the studio right there. We had to take our little break. And Doug Million, the chat room says stick to the facts, nothing but the facts.
I stick to the facts. I just had to get my point across.
No, they say no more conspiracy theories,
you know what?
okay?
They still ain't found Jimmy Hoffa, man. They still ain't found him.
Well, we know what Jimmy Hoffa is, don't you? You don't know where he at?
Dead.
I don't think he might be up in Canada.
I doubt it.
But
I doubt
what
it.
we want to do is we want to go back into the thing we was talking about.
And before we go there, Sean, I wanna let the people know. Listen, yeah, we do dialect, we do dialogue, but we're opening communication. Sometimes Chanel and I will agree to disagree. I'm gonna get my point across. He doggone sure gonna get his point across.
You're right.
But next week I'm gonna be right back here in the funny chair. Y'all ain't running
It's
me off.
it's okay.
This ain't Sax Man.
Wait, they didn't run Sax Man off. They just gave him a fair trial followed by a first class hanging. Come on,
Yeah.
our chat room do not mess around.
Yeah, no.
Gerald Hall,
And I
Facebook
appreciate
Live,
it.
welcome to be with us. So I want to go into this right here. What is the problem with policing in America? So JC, being a politician and working out of City Hall, tell us, what do you see the problem is? Is it the lack of minority officers working in the community? Is it the lack of officers being invested in the community they work for? Is it training? I mean, education? What's the problem right here?
Well, I think it's a combination of all, but I think we do need more black officers because, like Doug said, when you're not familiar with the dialect or movements or different things, you might perceive it to be something that's really not. And so, yeah, I would say they need to hire more blacks. Or minorities, I should say.
Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, Black Lives Matter. And the training, you know, it's probably a little combination of a lot of the rest of it, but if you hire more blacks, then maybe they can pair up the white officers with the minorities, and then you can get they can get a better understanding.
Black people and white people working.
Joining us in Studio 51 is Tone the Stone. Tone the Stone, welcome on.
Madness, keep it 100. What up, everybody? What's up, all the listeners out
Hey,
there?
hey, welcome being with us because, you know, my comedian over there got a little serious right there. He didn't talk Chinese, but for a minute there, you know.
Funny bone.
I didn't get shook. I didn't get shook. I got my point across. I got my point across.
You know he live out there in the
I got my
boonies.
point
Wait,
across.
you know he live out there in the boonies, right? He live out there.
You better not piss none of those white cups out there.
No, but hey, cause you know
You know what?
that's a Mississippi burning. He live out in Mississippi burning, and he know about being hung behind the barn and come up missing and everything.
You ain't got the support system that we get in the city.
That's right.
You know what? I got a better support system out there because all of them know me, because all of them, every last one of them had me under investigation when I first moved out there. And then they found out that I was all right. Now they stopped by.
So that's why you coming like that, talking about they burying people in the desert.
I ain't even worried about it.
That's your conspiracy. But
I ain't even worried about it,
your
Sean.
phone and your Facebook Live.
Tone,
right now.
since you
right
come in,
now.
this is what I want to do. If you look at NYPD, and this is something serious right here. So we talked to NYPD, and we talked with one of the captains, Jennifer Williams, who is a captain. And one of the things is that minorities are not applying to become law enforcement officers. 2, they're not scoring properly. And 3, some of them can't pass the drug test, so that's a big problem.
But I tell you what, a lot of that's going to change because marijuana is becoming legal in more and more states. And now that marijuana is legal, brothers going to.
So we're going to have more shootings now.
No, we're going to have more brothers applying to become
So-
police
so-
because they can pass the test
so-
now.
But you don't want them high, even though a lot of them probably be out there
Right.
high anyway.
That's why a lot of these brothers getting shot.
But look at this breakdown right here. Look at this breakdown right here. NYPD, 35,000 officers, full-time officers, 35,000.
3 black.
Okay. There's the city. Now we're gonna talk about the population in the city because I want you to look at the difference here. The total minority population is 67.2%. Okay. The total minority police share is 47.8%. Okay. So there's a 19.3% difference there, Tony Stone. But this is what I want you to look at right here. Out of 35,000 officers, they only have 5,500 black.
3.
Okay.
Now that's shocking.
It
Okay.
is. Now, when you said 47% police share, what do you mean? Like 47% of the force is minorities, not black,
Right, but
So-
minorities.
okay, so that's not a bad number in itself because that's almost.
But
half,
you have to look at this.
blacks are still
Okay, but you have to
underrepresented.
look at this. Now I'm getting ready to go down here for you. When you go down here, there are 8,900 Hispanics on the NYPD. 8,900. Only 5,500 blacks. 8,900 Hispanics. 1,800 Asians. Okay. When you come in and break that down, when you look at the Cleveland Police Department and you break the Cleveland Police Department down, right now there's a total of 1,600 Cleveland police officers. But we're not going to talk about Cleveland because I'm going to go back into Cleveland at the level it was in 1963, 66, 67 before the descent degree, and that's what we're going to talk about. But the department we want to go to right here, we're going to take Euclid, Ohio. And this makes the point that I'm talking about right here, about police officers reflecting the community that they serve, and the community stepping up, educating our people, educating their kids, staying in the city, paying back. So if you graduate from Euclid High School, instead of moving out of Euclid and running to the suburbs, why don't you stay in Euclid and give back to the community? And this stressed the point right here that I'm talking about. Euclid, Ohio, there's 50,000 people in Euclid, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
57.9% are black. Okay, only 37% are white. They have a police force of 145 officers.
2 black cops.
2 black police officers and 1 female, white.
That's crazy.
Okay, now that goes right to the point what I'm talking about. If the community has a problem with police departments, then we need to be policing our own community. Okay, and we go back to the way I started. Okay, and this is what me and Doug was arguing about earlier.
Oh, here we go again.
I'm gonna hit you every chance I get.
Let's get ready to rumble.
See, Doug, you want to start some trouble.
Oh no! Did you say that?
Yeah, he did.
Oh no! Did you say that?
Hold up, man. Hold up.
So we ready? Let's get ready. Here we go. I want you, Doug, to talk to me right here. Now I don't want you to be scared, okay?
I ain't scared.
Now we're gonna talk about some facts.
Come on.
Okay. President Barack Obama started a commission on policing and violence, okay? But we had a blueprint already wrote up on that, okay? And it goes back to the Violence Commission of 1969, the City of the Future. Prediction of suburban neighborhoods, increasing fire removed from central cities, okay? With homes fortified by an array of security devices, high-speed police patrol expressways becoming sterilized corridor connections, safe areas, checkpoints, and black people being stopped at will. Urban streets that will be unsafe in all total different degrees. Now, that was a 1969 report, but when you look at it, it sounds like Cleveland and the metropolitan areas today. Everybody's moved to the suburbs. So we've been here before. So when I want to talk about this, as I keep telling everybody, nothing is new here. We've been here before. We have taken this fight on, and we need to understand why, as I said before, Doug Million.
I'm listening, Sean.
Why has law enforcement and the community went back to the 60s? Okay? That's what has happened. We haven't progressed. We took the progress we had and we turned around and moved it back.
Well, I'll comment real quick on that. As the young guy in the bunch, who might not be.
Why you gotta go to there?
All that.
Go ahead, young guy.
On it, but so I think it's because a lot of the attitudes and mentality haven't changed. The demographics have changed. There are more minority police officers, specifically black police officers now than there were then. All the rules and regulations, all the laws are in place, but the mentality, of the commanders, the people of authority, the higher ups within the city and the police department, they are still using the old-fashioned. And I'm sure you heard this word thrown around, the good old boy. That mind, that state of mind, that's still a mentality among people who are decision makers, and that's why a lot of these things get swept under the rug or get ignored or get brushed off, and that's why it's these same happenings are allowed to continue.
Well, that goes right back to what a police officer from LA in the chat room said, that the minority officers do not know their role in law enforcement. Because when the dissent decree in 1972 was filed, and there was 3. Let's go right into that since you brought that up, Tony Stone, because I'm glad that you came in and you jumped right in the seat. While the funny man sitting over there trying to think about what he needed to say to me.
No, I was paying attention to some people in the chat room.
You always paid attention to something.
Because a lady in the chat room got a question. You were talking about Euclid, Ohio.
Go ahead.
And the police department.
Go ahead.
She was asking what location in Euclid, Ohio, because she has a daycare over there.
Well, Euclid, Ohio, we talking about the whole city
of Euclid.
The whole city of Euclid. Right, the whole city of Euclid.
I wasn't just thinking about what I was going to say.
Well, we are.
That smell you smell is my brain smoking from me thinking about what I'm going to say, Sean.
But let me say this to the chat room. We are, and everybody listening, we are being broadcast on internet radio in 17 cities, but we are a well-based internet show. So we interact on the chat room. Our phone lines don't even open up no more that much unless we tell somebody how to get there, and they give us a call. If you want to call us, our callers in Facebook land or anything, you can call 1-866-484-7865. That's 1-866-484-STMK. Keep it 100. Stop the madness. Give us a phone call if you want to. We're going to open up the phone lines. That's 1-866-484-7865. That's 1-866-484-7865. 484. Stop the madness. Keep it 100. Our phone lines is open, and we're going to let you come in with us. But we're going to go right here to the lawsuit. Cleveland, Ohio has always been in the forefront of law enforcement and the first. And we have had some high-profile cases. We're going to go back to Terry Stop and Frisk, go back to the lawsuits in law enforcement and the dissent decree. The dissent decree was actually filed by a black patrolman here in the city of Cleveland who was the president of the Black Shield Club Association. That's what it was known by right there.
Right.
His name was Fred Johnson, okay? And he filed the suit because of racist practices hiring police officers, racist practice throwing police officers off the police force, racist practice not promoting police officers because of their colors. Okay. And when you look at that, we're going to go back down. That consent decree was the Shield Club as plaintiff, the city of Cleveland as defendant. It's 37.2219. It was filed in U.S. District Court for the North District of Ohio. It was filed October 12, 1972. By an organization composed principally of black police officers and by an individual plaintiff who are black police officers who took the 1972 examination and other interested persons. Now, the city had a way to throw black officers off the list when they took the test, and that was because they said that if they had blood in their urine, they had a medical problem, or they was mental. Okay, but what happened was, this was really sweet, and I'm gonna have to say this. What happened was, while they was doing that to minority officers, especially black officers, a doctor who funded and founded Cleveland Clinic Hospital here in Cleveland, Ohio, took the black officers under his wing, and he did the examination of them. And he was well renowned, and nobody could talk about his credentials or come back and say that he didn't know what he was talking about.
So what was the results?
The results was, when he said there was nothing wrong with those officers, they had to put them back on the eligibility list, and they had to hire them. Okay, and that doctor went before the U.S. District Court to testify on the behalf of black officers. Okay, now where everybody get mixed up at, there was 3 suits you have to remember. The first one was filed by Fred Johnson. The second one was filed by the National Black Police Officers Association, which is the oldest black police officer association in the country. And the third was filed by Jean Clayton. And she filed on behalf of women, okay, that they wasn't promoting women, they wasn't hiring women, okay. And if they did hire a woman, they wasn't allowing women to go into units, so they had to work what was known as the Women's Bureau, where they worked inside or the jails. They weren't allowed to go out in the cars. Okay, so those was the 3 cases that was filed in federal court. Now, when I say that the minority officers does not know their role in law enforcement, I'm going to quote something right here from the judge that heard the case, and this is why the dissent decree was placed on police departments across America. And if you are a woman of any color, you're a minority. If you are a man of any color, you are a minority. If you're not a white male, because that's the only thing police departments was hiring, so let's just correct. If you are a white male, you're not a minority and you're not considered a minority. If you are anything other than a white male, you're a minority. So if you're white, you got on the police force across the country. If you're a white female, you got on the police force across the country because Fred Jackson and Jean Clayton. And if you got on the police force and got promoted, if you were a white female, that was because of Jean Clayton. Those 2 black individuals, everybody need to understand that black officers did not look at themselves as being black. They looked at themselves as being qualified, and they went to fight for everybody, not just one particular group. If you're Asian, if you're an Hispanic, you got on the police force because of that lawsuit, okay? Everybody needs to understand that and remember that. That's what the lawsuit came on. Now, candidates was referred to Dr. Circle, who was had a great reputation in the founder of the Cleveland Clinic. Remember, the founder of the Cleveland Clinic. He started the Cleveland Clinic, okay?
Okay.
So that's where it was. Now, Fred Johnson filed the lawsuit because he outscored everybody on the civil service test to become sergeant, and they still wouldn't hire him.
Wow.
Now, what the judge found out in the federal suit, and Doug Million, I want you to understand this right here, because I'm coming to you right here,
You're always coming to me.
is that remember when we did the rebellion, the Bacon Rebellion?
Bacon Rebellion.
After Nathaniel Bacon started the uprising,
Right. He started to
remember what the
Nathaniel
king,
was
remember what the king and the 1% said?
They said we can't stand for this.
Not only that, but remember what they did. They told the poorest person, English person, who was white, okay, that he would be over everybody,
Right.
okay.
That was in his sector.
That not only that, but he was the poor. So if I was rich, like LeBron,
Right.
and you was a poor white,
How come I can't be Brown?
well, I got to be Brown.
All right.
Okay. You can be Mike though. You can be Mike.
Jordan?
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
Okay. So what he told him was, even the poorest one will be over any person of color.
Right.
Okay. And that's what happened with the police department during this time when Fred Johnson took the test. He outscored everybody.
Right. But he was pretty much the janitor.
Right, and they pushed him to the side.
They say, you may be smart. You may be smart, but you ain't that damn smart.
Now, this is the kicker part just before the riots, and I'm going to talk about this. And next week, you're going to hear this again because we're going to have the president of the National Black Police Association and the vice president of the Cleveland Shield Club here on the show. And we're going to talk about this again because this is their organization. So I'm just going to hit on this. This is the kicker part, what really made everybody file this suit. And everybody kicked their seats down. I told you earlier, put your big girl pants on, your big boy pants on, because we're getting ready to hit it right here. And this is the thing right here, is that the straw that broke the camel's back was when a superior officer told a black officer named Lynn Coleman, he drew a chalk box in the 6th District parking lot and told him to stand there unless nature called, and if he moved, he would be fired.
What?
Wow.
And told him to watch the cars in the parking lot. Okay? Humiliation was a way of keeping officers in their
You
place.
said he told a superior officer to do that?
No, he told a black officer.
His superior
told him
the
to
black
do it.
officer to stand there. And
But
if your black
It's a lot of them who would like to still do that today. Wish they could still
So
get away
when
with that
they
today.
filed this suit, and we're going to go right back to this because when the judge filed this suit, they filed the suit and the judge ruled that minorities coming on the police department, if they put them on there, would treat the community better because they were treated the same way the community was. So that's what opened the door up for. You were not to come on the police department and be, as Tony said, part of the good old boy network.
Right.
You was not to come on the police department to turn a blind eye. And it comes right back full circle because what was the report that we told you earlier, that a Cleveland police officer was on trial today for negligent homicide.
Negligent homicide, accidentally killing somebody.
But his partner, for the first time, you have a law enforcement
Telling
officer
on his ass.
testifying against him. And that's what we're talking about today, that the judge said was supposed to happen. And if that happened, the officers who were committing atrocities against the community and violating your rights and everything will cease to do that because they will realize that their co-workers and the people working with them wouldn't stand for that. So that brings us right into the question today before we go
Everybody
right here.
is in it all right now.
So you have to ask this question right here. In 1965, the Watts riots.
Watts riots.
It didn't start because of the treatment of police officers in the community, okay? It started because the way the community was treated by certain officers in the
Right.
community.
Right.
And it didn't start on the incident of the traffic stop by the California Highway Patrol. That was the initial spark, you could say. It started when other officers started coming to back up that officer who was arresting a drunk and manhandled a woman, which turned around and had 34 people get killed, more than 1,000 injured, 200 buildings destroyed, and more than 24,000 arrests. Then you go right to the Detroit riot, known as the 12th Street riot, JC. Okay? That didn't start because a police officer picked the person up shoplifting and beat him. Okay, it started when the backup officers came and entered into the crowd and started beating on people in the crowd. Okay, which that turned out to burn down the city of Detroit. 40 people killed, 600 buildings destroyed,
Yep.
3,000 people injured. Wow. Okay, and over 30,000 arrested. And then we're gonna come right home to the Huff Rats here in Cleveland, Ohio, July 23rd, 1966. And I want you to remember these dates of Cleveland's because guess what? They almost started the same time.
Okay.
So that means that between everybody being outside in the summer and everything. Now, the Huff Rats started basically because there was a bar on Huff that took your money but didn't want to serve blacks.
That's correct.
Okay, and a male brought some liquor there, but he wanted a glass of ice water, and they told him that they didn't serve blacks ice water. And
They
the
didn't use
bar
them
owner,
words, though.
but no, they called him a nigger. I told you, put your big boy pants on.
That's right.
And the white owner jumped on him and beat him up.
Yep.
Okay.
Wow.
Now, the bar, police officers came to the bar of that call. Okay. The incident didn't escalate had the police officers arrested the bar owner or probably did the report.
But they did not. When they showed up, they decided to protect the bar owner and the establishment.
Right, and they put a note on the door, and this is what shocked me about this note that they put on the door. This male entered the bar and spent his money. His money was good enough to take, but they
Right.
put a note on the door: "No water for niggers."
That's it.
Okay, but
That didn't raise the
but he sold
community.
but he sold him.
He sold him liquor.
He sold him liquor.
He sold him liquor.
A whole
I
bottle
said-
of liquor,
I
Phil.
say y'all the liquor you want.
Okay,
Out the back door.
now when the
Now, mind you, that liquor was sold out the back door.
Now, when the Huff Rats took place, July 18th to July 23rd, there was 275 arrests. There was 6 people killed, 4 to 6 people killed, 50 people injured. Okay.
Right.
Numerous Cleveland police officers had to be pulled out of the area, white officers, and then only 165 officers went back. Okay. And they was all the black officers. So remember I told you I was going to bring it back into the city of Cleveland. The city of Cleveland had 2,600 police officers. Of the 2,600 police officers, there was only 165 black.
Mm-hmm.
And they all worked one location.
Yep.
107 in Chester.
Hood.
Now, the cafe we're talking about right here, so everybody else can know, was on 79th and Huff, and it was called the 79th, the 79er Cafe.
79er Cafe. Yes.
Okay,
That
so
is
so
correct.
remember that the incident didn't happen because of that one spark, but it was the relationship that the police department and community had,
Or the lack of.
or the lack of, okay, the mistreatment. Because what happens in the police shootings is Black Lives Matters has pointed out, and the Sea of Blue, and everybody's in there, and somebody talked about the Neo 134 there in the chat room also, as D Knows told us. What happened is when a person has a bad experience with a police officer, he doesn't relate to the rest of the community what it is. But when a high profile case come out, he remembers how that officer treated him, and he comes out because of the way he was treated, so he assumed this is what's going on with everybody, and that's how you get the community in the flames. But I want everybody to understand this because this is another high profile case that started July 23rd through 24th, 1968, the Glenville riots. And it actually wasn't a Glenville riot. It was the shootout between the black militants, between the Cleveland Police Department and Fred Alman Evans and them on Lakeview. Okay?
Yes.
And this was an ongoing thing of officers. And JC, you remember this because I remember this. I grew up during this era, so I'm going to say this. Sawinski Park. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We wasn't allowed to go in Sawinski Park.
Right.
And when we went down there to play, people came at us with baseball bats.
Yep.
And if we try to defend ourselves, members of the Cleveland Police Department would come down and jump on us or get on us
And run us out from
and run us out and let them go. Okay. Mary Hill. Okay. Same thing on Mary Hill.
Right.
Come into the 6th district, you're talking about over there, North Collinwood.
Same
Okay.
thing down on Broadway. I mean, and this took place until the mid 70s, people. Y'all got to understand that,
So-
because I remember being when there at a point in time when race riots were still going on at J.B. Hart Junior High School, and we didn't start it, but we retaliated.
Collinwood had the big riot.
Yeah, this was after the Collinwood riot.
And you have to remember this. During the shootout, Cleveland police officers were gunned down and laying dead in the street.
Yes, they were.
Okay. A lot of officers got killed. Okay. A lot of officers got wounded. Okay. During the shootout. So the riot didn't happen because of the shootout. Okay. The riot took place, okay, and started when the backup officers came into the community after the shootout and started interacting with the crowds that was gathering to find out what was going on. And that was the most deadliest time in the city of Cleveland's history.
Yes, it was. They burned Huff down.
No, we on Glenville now.
Oh, we on Glen. Yeah, that
So,
shootout.
so you go back to $2.6 million in damage, and that damage goes from Euclid Avenue, Superior, St. Clair, from 79th, 55th, 79th, all the way back to East Cleveland borderline,
That's right.
all the way out. Okay. During that ride, over 14 people got killed. Police officers right then were killed. Okay, for the first time, multiple deaths of law enforcement officers laying in the street. They were outgunned.
The National Guard had
Okay,
to be called
right.
in.
National Guard had to be called in. All for the second time. All the white officers had to be pulled out because at that time it was a full-scale war.
Yeah.
Okay, and anything in a black and white, whether you was a black officer or a white officer, they didn't care.
Didn't matter.
And of the 16 gunmen, thank God, only 7 or 5 chose to engage law enforcement officers. The other 6 or 7 dropped their weapons and ran off. Just think what would happen if all 16 of the gunmen with fully automatic weapons decided that, hey, this was going to be the day.
Yeah.
So you have to ask yourself, as I said there again, if the community is not going to take control of their police department and
The
mandate
police department is going to take
control of the community. And the people who are running the community, communities such as the mayor, your councilman, the community has to vote and put the proper people in there.
Right. And then once you vote and put the proper people into place, then you have to enforce them doing their job to help you police your community, because it's up to us to police our own community. When back in the day, Sean, you know this yourself, and everybody in this room, everybody in this studio right now knows this. Back in the day when we came up, except maybe you, Tone, when we came up, there truly was a village, and we truly were raised by a village. If you were out of place, anybody could get in that behind. if
Well,
you
our
did
school.
wrong.
We got to
Because
go back to that.
We policed our own community, and people, that's what we have to get back to. We have to get back to policing our own community. Okay, corporal punishment was first taken out of the schools, and it was a ploy for them to then turn and take corporal punishment out of the home. Not only can your child not be disciplined by the teacher in school, but your child can't be disciplined in your own home. And because of that, if you look at it now, and Tony Stone, you can back me up on this, these younger generations, the generations that's coming up behind you, are totally and blatantly disrespectful to themselves, their community, and their parents. And we got to stand up and start policing our own communities, and it's got to start at home.
And you have to say this. It's a dangerous situation. If a kid never learns to respect his own parents, how do you expect him to respect those in charge of enforcing the law?
Real quick, thanks, chat room. Thanks for sharing the video. Thanks for tuning in to STMK 100. Stop the Madness, Keep It Real with Sean L., the host. I'm just Doug Million in the funny chair. We got Tony Stone and we got JC up in here. But thank y'all. We appreciate you very much. Thank you.
So you have to understand this also, Doug. In the early 1980s, our Black Shield Club did a brochure, and it was done by Commander William Tell. And I remember him telling us when he did this, in the house he grew up in, he had clear set rules. And it's, you go to work, don't get involved in gangs, don't look for trouble, don't disrespect authority, don't go to jail because ain't nobody coming to get you out,
Right.
and don't leave the house in dirty underwear. Now, those rules work for everybody, okay? I'm going to say this, it worked for everybody. And they made a better man and of him and probably everybody else to follow those rules. So what I'm going to say is that the community has to come out and take control of its policing.
Absolutely.
Okay. Just putting a black face up after a high-profile case, and I'm going to say this, that don't work for me.
It don't work at all for me.
Okay. The cases we talked about with the black chief here in Cleveland, the Facebook killer.
Right, the Facebook killer.
We shouldn't have seen the black chief. We should have seen the white safety
We
director.
should have seen the white safety director, and before that, we should have seen the mayor, like you said in that show, out front, in front of the whole thing, shutting it down before it got that far.
Well, Doug, hold that thought right there because before we get ready to wrap up.
I'm holding my thoughts, y'all.
Hold that thought. Yeah, you hold your head and hold that thought.
I'm holding my
Facebook,
thought.
thank you coming in with us. YouTube, thank you for being with us. We got to go pay a bill real quick, and we'll be right back.
Right back.
At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100. Check out Reverend Bill Miller's Bible study radio broadcast live on the new STMK Radio 100 at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please listen in and support him as he joins the realm of broadcasting to encourage believers and offer the comfort of God to others across the airwaves. At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100. Also, feel free to contact him for prayer, counseling, and conversation at brobill9608@yahoo.com. That's BROBILL 9608@yahoo.com. At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100.
You've been tuned in to Stop the Madness, keeping it 100 on STMK Radio 100. And now back to your host one more time, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. JC, you know, we've been talking about policing and the state of policing in the community, and we've been going over all the stuff that's been happening. And one thing that I want to say is that Fannie Lewis and Lonnie Burton, politicians in the state of Ohio and the city of Cleveland, for our national audience, they set up programs, and we allowed these programs to go. They had a residency law. They had officers tied up in the community and invest in the community they live in. It made a difference in the schools, okay? It made a difference in the hiring practices. It made a difference how they went out to colleges and got minorities. I was part of that program, the BPO program, where they came to the college and recruited black police officers because they said that we wasn't educated enough to be police officers. We let all those programs go away, so we have a blueprint for it. Maybe we need to get back to the old school ways.
Yes, I would say so. If the programs were working and we hired more minorities, that probably had effect in the community, and I believe we should go back to that, like you're saying, to bring up the numbers in the minority community to help the community.
And Tone, what's up with you, Tone? As the young buck in the crowd, how do you? Because you wasn't here when that question came across. How do you view policing in America today, the state of it?
Today, well, you know me, I'm the natural optimistic, so I think it's better than it was years ago. Even though you gave us that statistic earlier, where you said things are pretty much the same, but there's always room for improvement, you know. And the sad part about it is, you know, we can always take sides, you know, Black Lives Matter and you know, in the blue wall, whatever they call it, you know, these two opposing forces, but both sides have some truth. You know, there are police officers on in the departments who are evil, who are racist, who are mad, who will go out on a job in a rage every day and take their frustrations out on people, and other police officers know it. So they either need to check them, or the superiors need to check them, or get them in line, and then the people in the community, we got to stop being mad, and thinking and treating all police like they're the bad guy, because it's always going to be a button head situation then, and we're never going to make any progress in that.
And as one of the instructors just said from the Arizona State Highway Patrol, it all starts with supervision. So if you're a supervisor and you're in law enforcement, it's your responsibility to ensure that these officers are not on the street doing what they're doing, taking advantage of the community.
Their authority.
Because there's I'm going to say there's a law that they're trying to get together that I was just told about, where it's called vicarious liability, where they're going to start holding supervisors and trainers responsible for officers' mistakes.
Maybe that's what they should do, Sean.
Well,
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Then the
I'm
shit
saying
roll down
maybe,
here. Once they start getting in trouble, they'll start getting people in line.
Then they'll start getting people in line. I mean, because you got to start with the head sometimes, right?
That's right.
You got to start with the head sometimes, and if you get them in order, then like Tony Stone said, maybe it'll start rolling downhill, and they'll start getting the proper training. They'll start, because I remember years ago, I was never a police officer, but at one point in time in my life as a youngster, I was an armed security guard. And I remember having to go to scenario classes.
Bernie?
Huh?
Did you have, where's your bullets at?
Huh? No, listen here. These hands are certified lethal weapons, Betty Lou.
They gave him a wooden gun like
They
the
didn't
other
give
guy.
me a wooden gun. Listen, I had an AK-27. I had a squirt gun, and but this was back, Sean, when the PR-24 was born.
Right, I used to take care of. I love those.
Okay, well, we had scenario classes, and in those scenario classes, we were taught the difference between apprehending and subduing a subject, the amount of force necessary to use, the amount of lethal force, and the amount of deadly force and imminent danger. We were taught things like that, and our supervisors were held directly responsible for us, because I had to believe it or not, and some people remember this, and I'm going there. I used to have to walk the beat in downtown Cleveland. And my supervisor would come out every morning before we would get started. He would take us back in the break room and he'd have a talk with us, and then he would come out on the beat. And he would remind us, now listen, while you out here, some people going to get under your skin. You can't take advantage of the authority that you have because you're wearing a badge and you carrying a squirt gun, Douglas. you can't just.
You think he was a real live Dirty Harry?
Yeah.
Dude,
Hey,
I was a bad mofo.
Well, we know why they gave you a squirt gun. Your bullet wasn't in your pocket.
I didn't even have a bullet in my pocket, man. I had a water balloon, bro. What is you talking
But,
about?
you know,
how you think I was gonna load that
next
thing?
week we're going to go deeper into this, because hopefully next week we're going to have the vice president of the Black Police Association, and we're going to get deep into the history of that organization. We also want to know what programs that they have set forth for minorities in the community.
There you go.
We also want to know what programs have they set up to improve the relationship, bring like the Citizen Police Academy and
Which
stuff
is a
like
big
that.
difference, and I personally think they need to bring PAL back, the Police Athletics Center.
Right. Definitely for the kids.
Yeah, definitely for the kids. I mean, because that's
That's a great way to foster a relationship.
Right, and it's all about the children now. I mean, that's where it has to be birthed at, with the children, because they're the ones that's going to become the leaders of the city.
Right.
They're the ones that's going to grow up, and I hate to be the one to say it, but they're going to be the ones to grow up to be the criminals and dumbasses that go out and break the law. And do
Right,
the
and
wrong
we're going to
thing.
talk about that with them. But in closing, I want to say this. You know, today we have come full circle, as we are now facing with the same circumstances we were fighting back in 1972.
We're not sitting in a circle, Sean. We're sitting more like a starship.
But there's one difference.
We stars.
Right, there's one difference we have. We have the benefit of having an established blueprint to review as we create and fight for our new agenda to improve policing here in America.
Yes, indeed.
Much of what we worked for and what worked back then, not only could it work now, but it could serve us well to sit down and read.
And it could work better.
Right, to what happened back then. And this is for everybody. It'll serve us well to sit down and read that dissent decree, what the judge said, what minorities should be doing. And everybody has to understand, again, when I say minorities.
Sean, I know you're trying to close out. You're going too far, man. I came on here. I mean, I got to read now?
Yeah, you got to read.
What, next month we're going to be doing math?
Yeah, you're going to do some math.
Man, Jesus.
Because you can't just be funny, man.
Boy.
But we must have the spirit, the unity, and the commitment to see it through to the end. And this will require some personal sacrifices on everybody's behalf. And I'm going to say that. Everybody has a sacrifice, okay?
Now I got to read.
And if
right.
this don't hit the point and you don't understand what I just said, what more can be said? But Doug Million, thank you for sitting in the funny chair.
Fan base is big, I can't lose. Sugar bow down, I'm the next to rule, but I'ma stay on the cool, remain on the under, cause like Andre 3000, your boy's ice cold. Ain't no limit to the gimmicks and ways to make money. No limit to the just to act funny when you get that cake, cause you spit that way. They may love you tomorrow when they hate you today, but yo, that's the way the story goes, so I was told. Following the rainbow down the yellow brick road, but please believe at the end ain't no pie to go. Just some platinum beats from the Cleveland streets.
Well, everybody, we'd like to thank you for joining us today on Stop the Madness. Keep it 100. Come back with us. We will be up in the sky. You can see us on SoundCloud, Mixcloud, YouTube Live. Doug Million, tell the people what you want to say.
What's up out there, everybody? Check us out on Ustream, man. Thank everybody for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in to the Facebook Live. Thanks for coming in to the show. Thanks, Sean L. Howard, JC, my main man, Tony Stone. And like I always say, y'all, hey, let's get it together. Let's stand up and do what we got to do. But in the meantime, live, love, laugh, baby.
JC, thank you for coming out of the Red Room to be with us tonight on Stop the Madness. And you know we want to have you back, and we want you to come in and sit in the chair. What you want to say to our listeners?
Well, I just want to say thank you all for listening, and thank Sean L. and them for inviting me. And take it easy, man.
Tony Stone sitting with us. Thank you, Tony Stone, once again. You're jumping in and out the chair like a jump pilot. Is it hot? Hey.
Like a fire. Everything my partners just said and our esteemed guests, y'all know what it is. Same time, same station next week. Stop the madness, keep it 100, or get out of here.
Hey, people, you know, but I really want to say one thing before we get off there and we leave. You know, our co-host Let had her going home service last week. Hey, we want to say our prayers to the family. We want to say, Let, we thinking about you. We got our girl in the sky looking out over us. And I want everybody to know from your host, Sean L., peace, love, and happiness. Thank you for joining us tonight. And we want you to know we love you. See ya.
You've been listening to Stop the Madness. Keep it 100 on STMK Radio 100.